Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes ball. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal!
Good evening, football fans across the globe and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, wherever you may be. It's Little Dan hosting tonight's Wolves Fancast World Cup preview episode. And tonight I've got with me the ravishing Rich Hobbs and the luxurious Lukey Thompson. How are we going, Rich? How are you?
I'm good. I'm not quite sure I've got World Cup fever yet. It's simmering. I don't think anyone's really kind of spiked yet, but I'm hoping after this preview, it's going to be right up there to, be really pumped up for Ecuador, Qatar.
Luke, I know you've got very strong opinions on vaccines and jabs, but have you had the World Cup fever jab yet?
Can't catch it, mate. I'm really struggling to catch it. Do you know what I was thinking earlier? I got my England flag out the airing cupboard earlier, and I just thought, no fucker's got one up. I've not seen one.
You've not been round Stu's house?
Oh my God, dread to think. But if Stu hasn't got World Cup fever, then no one's got World Cup fever. It's as simple as that.
There's just a lot of people out there who are boycotting the World Cup. I mean, Nelson Semedo and João Moutinho, absolute strong efforts to boycott the World Cup. How poor they've played for Wolves this season.
Who's right back for Portugal actually? Because I know loads of Wolves.
Gallo, innit?
Oh, is it? Not even that good.
Right, let's get straight into the football talk for tonight. Obviously, in the last couple of hours, there's news that's been spiraling out on Twitter that Wolves, is he technical director, sporting director? Scott Sellers appears to be on his way out of Molineux. It's been sort of an inevitability with the recent appointments of Julian Lopetegui and a lot of his backroom staff, including Frank Garagota, who Gully has done a great insight video with David Cartledge from ESPN. If you check that out on our YouTube channel, guys. Like I said, inevitability, but what's your thoughts on that news, Rich?
It seemed inevitable. If we're going to be honest, even just on the sway of public opinion and the fact that they brought in a technical advisor who is somewhat more qualified than Scott Sellers, the writing felt on the wall. And yeah, I don't think Scott Sellers is like the root cause of everything wrong at Wolves by any stretch of the imagination, but he ain't that far off it. Like he has been culpable for a lot of the things that haven't been right with this football club in the recent months/years, you could say. I just don't think he's necessarily got the skill set to do it at this level, unfortunately. So hopefully, new regime, new blood coming in. There's talk of us not being as dependent on Jorge Mendes as well. So I think the timing feels right, doesn't it? And, it's not been a great era in terms of technical directorship at Wolves.
Just touching on what you said there about not being so constrained by the Mendes muzzle, that's surely got to be a positive, Luke.
Depends who's making the decisions. It all depends. I mean, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the new guy's name, but I mean, is he going to be in control of transfers? Is it going to be Hewlin who's going to have the final say? Which, for me, that sits a lot easier with me. I'd rather it be the manager who has final say more so than Scotty Boy. But I'm not one of these who's massively against Mr. Mendes' involvement. I personally think he's done more good than bad. He's never going to get. We're never going to get a 100% hit rate on transfers through through Mr. Mendes. But on the whole, we've got Neves without him, Jota without him. Who else has he brought in? The list is endless. I think. So I think he's done more good than bad. But we'll see. It's a new era. It's a new chapter, and it's exactly what we needed.
Yeah, I think it is borderline unavoidable at this point for any club who, I guess, has a continental outlook to not be somewhat involved with Jorge Mendes just because of the sheer reach that he has. It's like saying, I've completely blanked on the other super agent.
Mini Raiola.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's the one. You're gonna
Rest in peace.
have these players, aren't you? It's like Man United. They had a period where they had about 5 or 6 Jorge Mendes players. They almost had as many as we did, but it's not seen in the same light, is it? But as you say, hopefully we've just got a fresh impetus and we can kind of move forward. And it seems to have very much soured. And you're completely right, Luke, in terms of, was it in the Ask Wolves series when Scott Sellers said, I don't want to be signing any players who Bruno Lage wants, but I don't. And that
was a massive statement that Scott Sellers made during that Ask Wolves series. A lot of sort of statements where it just seemed to suggest that he was higher within the club than what we fans sort of envisaged. That's that sort of comment that they needed to all agree as a committee on what players were signed. But if Scott Sellers didn't like a player that Bruno Lage it didn't get sanctioned. It's a bonkers situation, but I still think one of the biggest things that's come out of the whole situation with Scott Sellers is that he has become a massive fall guy for Jeff Shee.
Yeah,
Jeff Shee is still somehow going under the radar for the justified criticism that needs to go his way. What's your thoughts on that, Luke?
He's got a lot to answer for. Again, I think that needs looking at. What's Jeff Shee's involvement going to be moving forward? But one thing that I would like to feel pretty confident on is I don't think Lopetegui will take any shit off Jeff Shee. I think he knows what he wants. He knows his direction. He knows his philosophy. He knows where he wants to be. And Jeff Shee, I don't think he's going to be able to sort of derail that. Whereas with Bruno, I mean, I said it on the podcast months and months and months ago. Bruno Lage, the job was too big for him. Like his personality, his reputation, his whatever else. Whereas now we've got Lopetegui, however you say his name. It almost feels like we've got a manager who's bigger than the club, in a sense. Now I know nobody's bigger than the club, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like
he's definitely come in with an aura about him, hasn't he? Which, like I just said, Bruno Lage may have been a good coach. I still feel like he may be one of those people that fall into the good coach, not a great manager category. He's been rumoured to taking over to Corinthians in Brazil at the moment. So whoever it was in our WhatsApp group that said he's fallen upwards is pretty spot on, Rich.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to help. Because for me, your head coach and your sporting director, technical director, how you want to dress up, they have to work in tandem, don't they? And it makes sense that they can't follow each other, going from club to club. So having Scott Sellers, who's been there a while, to then going from Nuno to Lage, in theory, we're going through different cultures, we're going through different systems, and to be able to adapt, that takes an awful lot of skill for Scott Sellers, which, without saying too disrespectful, that is a big thing to be able to kind of systematically govern within a football club. And you're right, it's first impressions, it's edited, it's whatever. But when Lopetegui's walking through Compton, or he's on the pitch and he's, geeing up Adama Traore, you're like, yeah, this is a guy who you're going to follow, and you instantly go, yeah, we ain't fucking about with him. And I'm a big fan of Fran Garagaza. Are we going for? Just because he looks like he's about mine and your height, Dan. But I would back.
I would love to be your height, Rich. I would pay good money for that. Let's not blow smoke up my arse, Rich. It's Friday night.
Well, I'm Matinho height and you're Podence height, so we're not exactly. We're not covering corners. But Fran looks hard. Like when I saw the photos of Maul holding that scarf and saw him at the end, I thought that man will make you run fucking laps. And you know what? Bring it on. That's all I'm saying.
I think we need it. I think with Bruno though, I feel like it got to a stage where the players had lost respect for him, and it seemed like the players were sort of calling the shots, whereas that can't happen. And I don't think there's not a player in that squad who can sort of not bully, but
undermine.
Yeah, undermine Lopetegui. It's just not going to happen.
We had that conversation yesterday in the WhatsApp group, Luke, with the news that came out this week that Tony Roberts was going to be staying on the backroom staff of Lopetegui. So many times during last season, it appeared, if you didn't know any better, that Tony Roberts was the head coach in that sort of technical area in Wolves game, the way he was barking out orders. So how are the players supposed to respect Bruno Lage when there's orders coming from left, right and centre with no sort of general cohesion? It's massively frustrating, but a lot of people keep asking me at work and in my personal life, what have I made to the appointment of Lopetegui? And two of the sort of main things that stand out for me is I don't believe he would have taken this job on unless he was assured backing within the January window. And for me, he cannot afford for a relegation to be on his CV at Wolves based on his sacking at Sevilla in the position that they were in before he left.
Nah, he's got to have been told something positive. I mean, to get him in the position we are in is massive. Like, I kind of still can't believe it's actually happened. He should be going to like a Newcastle, who are in their current form and situation. Massive appointment. And don't get me wrong, Emery for the Villa, very good appointment. But if this is top trumps, bang. How do you like this one? Lopetegui, 99 charisma.
It's a bold statement, that, Luke, because I don't think there's much between Emery and Lopetegui. I really don't. I feel Emery had a really tough hand to play at Arsenal with the squad that he was dealt with. They had quite a toxic group at the time. He still managed to get them. I think they finished 5th under Emery at Arsenal. He got them to a Europa League final. Lopetegui obviously won the Europa League with Sevilla, but Emery in recent times took a really small Villarreal side all the way to a Champions League semi-final, which I think they were leading something like 3-0 against Liverpool in the first half of the first leg. So I really don't know how much is between them. Obviously, we've just got to hope that Lopetegui is as special as his CV suggests, because let's just be fair. We just need to stay up this season, and then he needs a full summer transfer window to properly stamp his mark on this club.
Yeah, we are kind of approaching. If we finish 16th, it's a good season, and just going to next year. Or Newcastle set the blueprint in terms of the position we're in now to just claw your way back up into somewhere respectable, survive, and just rebuild, make key acquisitions in those tricky areas. We all know that Wolves, despite spending 100 million on the spine of their team, probably need to spend another 50 plus million on the spine of our team in January. It's as simple as that. And you're completely right that he wouldn't have come here if he wasn't promised that we're gonna recruit, a new centre forward at the bare minimum to help drag us through, getting a new centre half, just to either be above be above what we've already got and to really kind of push our two more inexperienced centre halves along the way. Otherwise, all that will happen, and it's going to be kind of the downside of maybe Lopetegui, is if we don't back him, will he just walk? Because he's been someone who, let's be honest, has always been kind of fairly flimsy. You know, he was approached by Wolves in 2016, supposedly turned it down at the last minute when a better job came in, was about to take Spain to the World Cup, got the call from Real Madrid and moved on. And I do kind of think that actually if he's not backed, you're right, Dan, he won't want it on his CV. So if we're in the
I
same
don't think he
situation,
can afford to have it on his CV.
No. So could you see a situation where, I don't know, mid to end of February, that, you know, we haven't acted decisively in the transfer market and we're still 19th, 20th, that, you know, he goes, you know what, I'm not having any of this, and, you know, jump ship before it goes really, really bad. I don't know.
We've got Terence Burt in the comment section. On paper, we should be at least a top 10 side. We've needed a new manager with new ideas, and boy, have we got that now.
Yeah.
Are we a top 10 side on paper?
I don't think we're that far off, really.
We should be at least a top 10 side. I think you look at some of the players that we've still got within the squad. I think our best 11 when everyone's firing is probably a 9th to 13th place side within the current squad. But like you mentioned, Just Rich, we massively need a striker. I still feel like we need another centre back, because I made my point in the WhatsApp group earlier that Scott Sellers deserved sacking for his involvement in bringing in Nathan Collins, because I'm really, really not impressed with the performances that he's put in recently. I felt him and Kilman started off okay, but both of them next to each other, they look inexperienced at Premier League level, which you look at their Premier League appearances tally, it's not high, is it? Julian Lopetegui did talk about Raul Jimenez in his comments within the last week, saying that he should be putting club before country. But this week, earlier in the midweek, he played 45 minutes for Mexico in a 2-1 defeat against Sweden. If you've seen some of the videos online, he looks, as I said on Twitter, grossly unfit. What have you made about the situation, Rich, in regards to Jimenez and playing for Mexico?
I think, at best, the PR around it has been really badly handled. At best, because there's no. It's within realms of possibility, right? That he's been struggling with injury, and it has all been to build up to the World Cup. And look, he clearly ain't match fit because he hasn't played for 2.5 months, and he's already carrying niggles and things like that. So it's a shame to see him put himself through that to what looks like it's not going to get a reward. At worst, he's been negligent to the club that's paid his wages and supported him last several years. And, you know, for me, it's just indicative of the outlook of the club in terms of, you know, I think if we had a stronger board / management structure, we're not getting the piss taken out of us by the bloody Mexicans. Do you know what I mean? Right. Like, do you know, like, where obviously we're not, but you couldn't see a situation where, it's cliche, I know, but like Sir Alex Ferguson wouldn't have stood for this.
Just get rid of him. Let him go and retire for LA City or one of those sort of like Latin speaking teams in the MLS. Let him do all his adverts and whatever, his Instagram promos, and just be done with it. For me, now I know it's very split, the camp on Raul, but for me, he's took the piss. I just don't see now. If somebody can educate me, I'm all ears. How do you go from being on the bench against Southampton to having fatigue, to then having this injury, to then jetting off to Mexico or wherever he went to go and be treated by their medical team to then playing 45 minutes against who did they play? Sweden or I just don't get it. From being benched against Southampton to the fatigue to this injury, it makes no sense.
And for what Richard's just mentioned, the whole PR around the situation has been diabolical from start to finish. You've just done like a sort of a timeline of the situation, and then I'm not sure whether it was the back end of this week or early this week that Mexican national team came out with some sort of story saying that the Wolves medical staff had misdiagnosed his injury.
Yeah. Well, because I think
that's dodgy as well. Though, ain't it?
You're about to say something then, Rich. Go on.
Sorry.
I was going to say, because I think the injury that they most recently claimed he had, it is like a bit of a long-term niggly injury, and from what I kind of gather, and I can't remember the name of it, it's almost like the precursor to potentially getting a hernia. So you almost just need to do a lot of rest for it. But again, it's the handling of the whole situation. Because if the club have just said was it September when he first got injured, wasn't it? It was a Southampton game.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been end of August, start of September.
Yeah.
If they'd have just said he's got a groin injury, he's going to be out for up to 8 weeks, that's fine, because we'd have all gone 8 weeks.
And then to add to that, if he would have had 15, 20 minutes off the bench against Leeds in the Cup and then went to Mexico for the World Cup rehab and, tried to gain a bit more minutes before the actual tournament kicked off, maybe Wolves fans would have been a bit more lenient. But like you just said, Rich, the PR of the whole situation has been farcical. Who's made the decision for Raul Jimenez to go to Mexico without doing any sort of strong rehab work at Molineux? How much say has Jeff Shee had in this? I know there has to be some sort of, I don't want to use the word like sympathy, or it's probably loyalty, because I think most Wolves fans before all of this scenario wouldn't have been too fussed about Raul making so much effort to play for Mexico, knowing that's most likely going to be his last World Cup, based on how much he's given to Wolves over the last 2 years on the back of his massive head injury. But just the whole communication between the clubs to the fan base has been terrible.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
it would probably be easy to take if we were sitting in mid-table, but I think the position we're sitting in, we need all hands on deck, and it looks to me like he's just completely down tools. Now, when, like Richard mentioned, all the PR around it, you got Mexico saying he's on the bench against Iraq because it's good for his mental health. I don't really want to talk bad about it, and because there may be a really strong mental health element here, so I don't want to sort of discount it completely. But to me, the whole thing just seems really weird. And then you've got Mexico apologising to Wolves for this, that, and the other. And like Dan said, if he was busting his gut to come off the bench 15 minutes against Leeds in preparation for the World Cup, fair enough. But to me, it seems like he's completely just discounted Wolves for it's.
Yeah, because didn't he come back from Mexico to Compton for basically a day? He basically used like Birmingham International as a stopover. Saw his wife and kids, and then went to Spain for basically their pre-tournament.
Probably packed up the house.
Yeah.
This is why. This is why now. You know what?
He probably left one of his fucking set of anime toys in his bedroom, and he wanted to take it back to Mexico with him.
But like Raul he's done fantastic things for the club, and that's something that I suppose we have got to be grateful for. But on the other hand, I feel like as a fan base and as a club, we've supported that man, and we've sort of, I don't want to say he was nothing before Wolves, but he kind of was.
Yeah.
And like Dan said, there should be, and I know there's no loyalty in football, but come on, man, come on.
I feel like a bit. For some, I don't think it helps that he is obviously a very PR-driven footballer. In terms, you say we talk about how much he posts on social media, the amount of the sponsorship, endorsements stuff he does. That there's nothing stopping him from saying working hard to make sure I'm fit for the World Cup. And we get it. I'd get it, because obviously he's not fit now, so he hasn't been fit since since X, whenever. But
But
it's been
his
crappily
wife or his like fiance hasn't been helping with situations, though, has she? With some
They
like
never
social
do.
media comments. But I was trying to be really lenient towards Jimenez, and obviously with it being his last World Cup. But I still feel like we've probably gone in a bit too hard on him, purely based on the fact that since the horrific injury, he's been probably a 5 out of 10 at best in every one of his performances since coming back. So it just hasn't helped with the current predicament that we're in league position and form. But for me, he hasn't been a massive miss. It's just been a bigger miss than any of us would have ever wanted because of how bad we're struggling in the league.
Yeah, as Luke said, if we're mid-table, this wouldn't be an issue. If he'd had a good season last season, it wouldn't be an issue. It's simply because Wolves are misfiring, and he was misfiring. And again, it doesn't help. He had a really solid pre-season, didn't he? And he looked sharp. He looked good, but he just came into the season unfit by the end of it because he picked up a couple of knocks. And they talked about the whole mental health thing, and I completely get that he went through such a huge rehab, like quite literally the hardest rehab any professional footballer can do. Like, but you think of players who have had a similar injury who've ended up having to retire pretty soon afterwards, like Ian Hume, and then to get, it's a niggling injury, but to then actually be able to mentally go through that again, it must be so hard for him. And I mentioned it on a show a few weeks back now about an NFL player called Andrew Luck who'd gone through similar stuff in terms of really, really bad injuries. Like he had a lacerated kidney, tore his throwing shoulder, picked up an ankle sprain, and he went, I can't do 8 weeks rehab. I'm going to have to retire. I'm not putting my body through it again. I can't mentally do it. And I get it if that was the issue. But at that point, I'd rather just throw the towel in rather than what it feels like we're about to see in this World Cup, which is just going to be a shadow of one of the best strikers in a generation for Wolves. And it's going to be so shitty, isn't it, when if we're watching this World Cup and he plays 20 minutes and he just looks dog shite. And that's not what I want to see. I want to see Wolves players on the international stage performing as best as they can do.
But it's got to the stage now where I hope he has a terrible World Cup. And that might sound really bad, but I hope he has a terrible World Cup because, and do you know what? If I'm wrong, fair enough. I might just say, you know what? I was completely bang out of order what I said about Jimenez. But as it stands, and with the knowledge that I hold, it's taken the piss. I hope he has a shit World Cup. I hope January comes and we sell him as soon as possible to the MLS, and then we can crack on with our season. He can crack on with his career, and what he does after Wolves, I really don't care, to be fair. But it's a shame that it's left such a sour taste in the mouth.
Ethan out in the comment section's on a completely different vibe to you there, Luke. Mexico, Argentina was on my birthday. Would love to see Raul Jimenez back. I did put a message in our WhatsApp group earlier. Oh no, sorry, actually on Twitter. If Raul Jimenez to be the top goal scoring player from the Premier League at the World Cup, 100-1. So if you bet £10 on Raul Jimenez to be the top goal scorer for the Premier League at Qatar, you will win 0. It's that simple. Because like what Rich says, it's just watching Jimenez in this tournament, if he does actually feature, because I don't know how Tata Martino from Mexico can even be considering having him feature in this tournament, because we posted the highlights from the 2-1 defeat Mexico had to Sweden. Jimenez cannot reach a sprint. He's got no mobility. It looks like he's had 2 years out of the game. I always said coming back from the head injury was a really tough job to come back from. Never mind adding the sort of the deconditioning of being out of football for as long as he was. It's just what Rich says. It's going to be so sad to see him go out like this. I just hope he's able to put some sort of performance in so we can try and get some reasonable feedback for him, because the last thing I want is Jimenez on our wage bill for the rest of his contract, because it got to the point last season where everyone who knows me, it was shocking to hear. But I even said I'd have had Catrone over Jimenez last season. He was that bad, and I feel like he's just become a burden on the club at the moment. And Instant Access in the comments section has said Raul Jimenez or a fit Costa, and it's a no-brainer for me. It's Diego. To be honest, an 80% Diego Costa's better than Jimenez for me now.
I mean, with Jimenez, it is sad at the same time, because it's like, when you see boxers in the 50s and they're still having a knock. It's like that, ain't it?
Danny Williams, punch drunk. Just sad to see. Anyway, press the like button if you're happy Scott Sellers is about to be sacked by Wolves. I want 100 comments in the next 2 minutes if you don't want us to talk about the World Cup. Guys, well, I'm going to do a little bit of a Wolves-based World Cup quiz before those 100 comments come in. First question tonight. I'm going to, obviously, it's a maths round, so I'm going to ask you a question, and you have to give me the correct figure based on the two scenarios when you put them together. Okay. First question is, the shirt number Steve Bull wore at Italia 90 plus the amount of goals he scored for England. You better not be typing there, Rich.
I want to say...
I'll come to you first.
So, the number we wore in Italia 90 and the number of goals he scored for...
The number shirt he wore at Italia 90 and the amount of full England goals he scored for England.
I know how many goals he got, but I got to clear what shirt number he wore.
Yeah, so...
I'll
come on, Rich, you first.
I'll go for 23.
See, I was torn between 23 and 24, so I'll go 24.
24.
Martin W in the comments section has said 31. Richard said 23. Lucas said 24. And the correct answer, his shirt number was 21. And the amount of full England goals he got for England was 4. Correct answer is 25. So if there's any Italian United England shirts, get yourself number 21 on the back. Andrew, I'm definitely going to come to your question. I'm going to do it now because I forgot last week. Andrew Knight's missus wants to know how little is Little Dan. And the answer is, it doesn't matter because I am lying down. Okay. Second question is the amount of full international goals Robbie Keane scored for Ireland minus the shirt number he wore for Wolves on his first team debut.
Okay.
I ain't got a clue. 20.
Rich?
I was going to say, I'm pausing and realise, silence in an audio production isn't exactly great, is it? I'm going to go for 32. I reckon you got. I'm thinking. Yeah. 14. Like, come on.
I'm locking in 32, Rich, because I need to speed the episode on.
Yeah.
Instant Access in the comment section has gone for 14. Luke's gone for, what was it, Luke?
20.
Luke, Rich has gone for 31.
32.
32. The amount of goals Robbie Keane scored for Ireland was 68.
Fucking hell, who's he playing?
The shirt number that he wore on his Wolves debut was the number 8. So the correct answer is 60. Right. Question 3. Question 3. It's another shirt number. The shirt number John DeWall wore at USA 1994 for Holland.
God, Raul.
And the amount of goals he scored for Holland in the World Cup 1994 qualifying campaign.
This is what I mean. What's the point?
Why?
Because it's my quiz. The shirt number he wore at 1994 for Holland and the amount of goals he scored for Holland in their qualifying campaign. I'll come to you first, Luke.
He wore number 14 and he scored 2 goals.
Luke's answer is 16. Rich?
I'm going to go for... Is it plus or... Sorry, do you say it's plus them?
Yes. Shirt number plus the amount of goals he scored in the qualifying campaign.
So I'm going to go for 18 total.
The shirt number he wore at USA 94 was the same shirt number as Steve Bull, 21. And he scored twice for Holland in their qualifying campaign. So the correct answer is 23.
I mean...
Still 0-0.
Drop a comment if you got that right. Drop a like button if you got it wrong. And there's 2,040,000 viewers watching tonight. So if you can all drop a quick like, be great. The next question, and it's a very, very recent shirt number one. Add together all the Portugal shirt numbers of José Sá, Ruben Neves, and Mateus Nunes this upcoming tournament. José Sá, Ruben Neves, Mateus Nunes. What do their shirt numbers add up if you add them all together? I'm going to come to you first this time, Rich.
So...
What kind of mind works out these questions by instant access on the comment section?
That's what I mean.
The mind of a maniac.
39.
Luke?
38.
He's lowballing me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The correct answer is 53. José Sá is 12.
Yeah.
Oh, I had him as 30.
Ruben Neves is 18.
Oh, I had him as 8.
This is 18.
Yeah, and I think maybe Bruno Fernandes might be 8. And Mateus Nunes is 23. So the correct answer is 53. The last one, because you're doing so well, guys, keep with us on this. The shirt number Havard Flo wore at France 98, plus the amount of league goals he scored for Wolves. I want to see more answers in the comment section tonight, guys. The shirt number Havard Flo wore at France 1998, plus the amount of league goals he scored for Wolves. I'm going to come to you first, Luke.
37.
37. Rich?
30.
The shirt number he wore at France 1998 was 17. The amount of league goals he scored for Wolves was 9. The correct answer is 26. I don't know who won the quiz.
As soon as
apart
you
from the quizmaster who made the questions.
I knew I shouldn't have come on.
Let's talk about the upcoming World Cup, because that's what this program's all about tonight. Wolves have upset us so many times the last few months that we need some sort of positive talk. I've got World Cup fever now. I've got my England top on, 7 Beckham on the back. I'm ready for Monday.
21 ball. 21 ball.
There's 21 back of Luke's shirt, and Rich has got some green-based jumper on, which may be the.
I'm actually wearing
underneath.
I really should take the jumper off, but you know me too well. I'm actually wearing a Fancast t-shirt underneath. Still representing. Available on Redbubble for anyone who's interested.
If you want a Fancast t-shirt or a Fancast jumper or a Fancast hoodie, email podcast@wolvesfancast.com with your size and address, and
if we get
anything between 20 and 30 pounds, and we'll have it out within a week.
We'll give out a t-shirt, 27,000 likes, and we'll give out a t-shirt.
200 likes on this video, and I will come round your house and cook you dinner one night. Let's talk about World Cup 2022.
300 likes, and little Dan will show that geezer's missus just how big little Dan is.
That I'll call me the babby elephant for nothing. Anyway, World Cup 2022 kicks off on Sunday. 2 p.m. the opening ceremony begins, and one of the questions I'd like to ask you both is the only announced act for the ceremony so far is Korean K-pop band BTS. No other acts have been announced yet. What act would you like to see perform at the opening ceremony on Sunday? Come to you first, Rich.
I was about to say, oh, Kanye West, he'll go down a storm there, but that might land me in hot water.
He needs the money, Kanye does.
Yeah. It'd be a good. It sounds bad when I say it. Does anyone care about the opening ceremony of a World Cup?
My mate does. He cares about the opening ceremony for everything.
Is his name
Look,
It all depends who's performing. I mean, if Shakira or someone like Dua Lipa's giving it large, I'm keen to watch for a good 2 minutes.
Me personally, I would love to see DJ Look and MC Neat there, or maybe Oxide and Neutrino. Just have an old school garage set and just shut Qatar down, man.
It's going to be an opening ceremony to remember, because the scenes that we're seeing from Qatar at the moment isn't great. And
let's be honest, it's going to be remembered by those who are there because they can't get pissed to watch it.
I think they can drink alcohol, but I think you've got to be at least 4,000 miles away.
Yeah, or you can drink it in a box that's going to cost you 16 grand. So
if I was Budweiser now, the way that they've been shafted by Qatar, they're still able to sell Bud Zero. So what I'd be doing is switching the labels and just telling people when they come to the bar, what do you want? And then just dealing with the aftermaths afterwards, because I'm all for the Middle East getting a World Cup. Every country, every continent should have the right to host a World Cup. But you have to buy into the rest of the world's cultures and ways of living. It's become a farce now. Football isn't supposed to be run by negativity. It's supposed to bring people together. And the way this tournament's leading up, something's going to happen bad during this tournament with the oppressiveness that the Qatar government are bringing on this tournament. I don't want to try and get into the politics of it all, because it's just unfortunate. I just hope everyone who does make it over there has a good time. Hopefully England do well, and hopefully Lionel Messi doesn't win it. But we'll come to that a bit more in depth. Let's look at sort of Group A this evening, gents. I'm going to come to you both. Obviously, we've got Group A there: Netherlands, Qatar, Senegal, and Ecuador. I'd suggest that Netherlands are likely to win that group, but how do you see Qatar finishing in that group? Do you see them actually buying the way through, or is it going to be an embarrassment for the hosts?
I think if they've not brought their way out of that group, they should lose every game by 3, 4, maybe 5, 6 goals. And
what's your thoughts on Group A, Rich? How do you see this actual group ending up? We'll put Qatar bottom of the group.
Yeah, I think we're
going to hope that they're not going to buy the way through this tournament with referees and players. There was a rumor yesterday that they've already tried to bribe Ecuador players up to $7 million, which we hope is just false, because that's the last thing football needs. But who's going through that Group A, which I'd suggest is probably Netherlands finishing top of the group? Who's going through
I'd have been really confident. I'd have had Senegal down as a genuine dark horse for the competition if they had Mane fit, who's been ruled out. But I think they've still got a really strong squad regardless. So I'd be tempted to keep it almost as it is on screen. So Netherlands finishing top, Senegal, Ecuador, then Qatar, hopefully. I think the only reason why Qatar wouldn't finish bottom is if they, let's say, get a point against Ecuador first game and they have slightly better goal difference, losing to the other two teams, and Senegal and Netherlands pump Ecuador. But yeah, I think it's a real shame for Senegal, because obviously they won the African Cup of Nations. So they'd have been going into this tournament thinking they got a really good chance at making headway into the competition. But I think they still should have enough to get through the group. But it's whether they can get past the round of 16. I think.
Like we just mentioned there, Sadio Mane is apparently injured. He's not going to make the World Cup. He may have one more World Cup left in his career after this one, which is a bit unfortunate if he is going to miss out on this one. Let's get to obviously the main group that the majority of people are going to be caring about in this chat tonight. England in Group B. We kick off our campaign on Monday 1 p.m. against Iran, and then United States of America face Wales. Any sort of glimmer of a England exit or a massive banana skin of embarrassment for you, Luke, with that group?
Nah, we win all 3 games, and we should win them all comfortably. I think Wales will finish second though, but it's a really poor group, and then USA will finish above Iran. But I mean, I know there's no easy games in international football, but we should breeze that group, and if we don't, then it's a bit of a concern.
Yeah, I did make the comment. If England don't win that group, they shouldn't come home because it's on paper we should just be too strong for them. Wales and United States, with it being, don't want to sound stupid, they are sort of derby games to a degree.
Yeah.
Due to the history that we've got with both countries, so they're both going to be up for it. This is going to be Gareth Bale's sort of swan song for Wales, you'd imagine. I'm not really too in depth with United States squad. Obviously, Christian Pulisic is going to be one of their main players. Winston McKennie from Juventus, but we should just be too strong for those teams, shouldn't we, Rich?
Yeah, that's sort of my thought process. Is England, for all their faults, and there are many with them, having a handbrake manager, we are quite tried and tested, you'd like to think, and that at the moment this squad is still at their peak. The likes of Harry Kane is still, this should be his big tournament in terms of his age range. This is where it's his time to shine, and for quite a number of those players, even people right at the front end of their career, like Jude Bellingham, has got a real moment to shine within this. Where you look at that Wales squad, this is basically Gareth Bale's last chance to do anything. It's going to be,
that's if he can be fit enough to play in all 3 games, because he has been struggling for fitness the last sort of few months. I think he came off the bench in the MLS Cup final the other week to score a late equaliser, which they ended up winning the game on penalties. Kiefer Moore's been in all right form for Bournemouth recently, to be fair to him. He'll be leading the line if Gareth Bale isn't fit to start. But you look at the rest of the Wales team, I mean, Aaron Ramsey is going to be a guaranteed starter. He struggled for Glasgow Rangers last season. Who else even stands out in the Welsh side? You've got Brennan
Wayne
Johnson,
Hennessy.
Nico Williams.
Wayne Hennessy.
I mean, but Wayne Hennessy isn't even going to be starting, is he? It's going to be Danny Ward, is it? Who's absolutely on fire for Leicester.
But they'll still have Ben Davies playing centre-back, and I'd be fascinated to see how many players, were in that Wales squad for the 2016 Euros, 6 years ago now, compared to the England squad 6 years ago.
English anyway. They've got 8 English players in that team. I'm sure it's 8 English players they've got in the squad.
Yeah, it is a lot. I don't know where I think in terms of sort of group wise, I think England will finish top. I think we'll get our standard 7 points. I don't know.
Who are we dropping points to there, Rich?
Probably USA, maybe. I think it might just be one of those where it's just a slow draw. I don't know.
You're so cheeky, Rich, knowing the amount of American listeners this channel gets.
I know. I'll have Nate in my DMs later. It'll be perfect. No, I don't know. I slightly pessimistically, I'm not quite sure we'll kind of beat all 3 teams. USA are a funny one because they do have some really standout players.
They're not even going to beat Iran, man. Iran will beat USA.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, because it means more to Iran, doesn't it? They love it. Didn't they draw with them at France 98? Or did they beat them at France 98, actually?
Did United States of America even make France 98? You're going way back there, Luke. I mean, probably was Christian Pulisic even born in '98?
I'm sure
They
Iran and
did-
USA played.
Yes, Iran beat the USA 2-1
A World Cup 1998.
at World Cup 1998. Brian McBride scored for the USA.
Blimey, fair play, Luke. Yeah, that's some fantastic memory, that is. And you know I love a bit of flipping trivia.
Can't wait for that to come up again in at the end of World Cup quiz.
United States beat Iran 2-1 in 1998, but who did Wolves beat in the third round of the Carabao Cup that year?
Same year.
Probably would have been something like the Worthington Cup back in 1998.
Yeah.
Let's touch on to Group C because we all know England's going to romp Group B. Group C involves Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland. It's pretty much a walk in the park for Argentina when you look at their squad compared to the other three. Let's put Saudi Arabia to the bottom of that group. Who's going through that group of Argentina, Luke?
Poland.
Yeah.
Poland.
The Lewandowski effect is probably going to be the clear difference between Poland and Mexico, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what? I've got a sneaky feeling. I mean, I'm probably going to be wrong here, but it's probably more hope than anything. I think Saudi Arabia will nick something off Mexico. Jimenez will miss a penalty in the 88th minute.
Love it. You'd love it.
I would.
That's the only thing that I said the other day is that I just think Mexico, I'm just hoping they can just wheel Jimenez out for a penalty, knowing that if they can pump him full of Vicodin, he can just walk up to the penalty spot without any pain and just send the keeper the wrong way. But as you just said, look, maybe the Saudi Arabia keeper will read his eyes.
Who's the manager? Sami Al-Jabir?
I don't think so. I did see that Rigobert Song was managing Cameroon this tournament, which I thought was a mad
lovely.
stat.
Yeah.
So we're saying Poland are going through with Argentina in Group C.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Group D. France, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. Obviously, France, the current holders of the World Cup, missing the likes of Paul Pogba and maybe N'Golo Kante, but they've got some really good midfielders filling in there. Tuchemani and Camavinga coming through, the young lads. Who's going through Groups D with France, Rich?
See, Australia tend to have half decent tournaments and can grind it out. I think that's actually a really interesting group, to be fair, because I don't think an awful lot separates Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. I don't know. I mean, obviously Denmark was so relevant in the Euros recently, and I don't know whether they've still got that momentum or not. I'm going to go for Australia, even though they don't have Tim Cahill, being wheeled out.
Yeah, they've no longer got Tim Cahill or
Mark Viduka.
Was it Scott Chipperfield? Scott the Chip. Come on, Luke. Let's talk a bit of sense for a second. Christian Eriksen, Kasper Dolberg, Denmark surely go through that group with France.
I've had an ACCA on some group qualifiers, and I've got Australia in my ACCA. I just thought 3-1 was really good value, so I'm gonna have to stick with it now.
Sticking with it, France, Australia, and then Denmark and Tunisia exiting Group D. Group E involves Spain, Costa Rica, Germany, and Japan. I mean, everyone would look to think that Spain and Germany should comfortably walk through that group, but that's the group of death for me because Spain and Germany will most likely take points off each other one way or another. Japan could always maybe cause an upset. Who's winning that group, and is there a chance that you think Spain or Germany could exit that group, Rich?
Definitely. Probably, I don't know which one. I know I completely, get.
Neither side have got like a proper out-and-out striker, have they?
No, but it feels like either one of them could get through on like muscle memory. They've obviously got enough highly skilled players. I think it might be Spain to miss out. I think I don't know. Again, Japan just have a funny knack of qualifying out of the group stages, and I quite like watching Japan play and South Korea play because they do have a slightly different style to what we're used to seeing. So I think Germany will top the group. I reckon they beat Spain, draw against, and that puts Spain at a deficit. Then getting a draw against Japan. Yeah, I'll go. I'll go Germany than Japan. I think, and spice things up.
I've been saying in our WhatsApp group for the last 2 months since Bruno Lage was sacked that we've missed out on Japan's coach Hajime Moriyasu, absolutely exceptional coach. I feel he can cause an upset in that Group E. Spain and Germany, you can't bet against them not making it through, but Japan under Moriyasu, they're the team to watch for me in Group E this upcoming autumn winter.
What we're going to go then? Shall we go Germany, Japan, Spain, Costa Rica?
It all depends on whether you want the viewers to think we're serious.
No, but
or
you know
whether
what?
we are we taking this serious that Spain and Germany aren't going to make it through. I know Moriyasu is an exceptional coach, but I just feel like Spain and Germany's lack of a proper centre forward. Spain have got more. I was going to say Moriyasu, Morata, and Germany have only really got Thomas Muller, but they're not like exceptional centre forwards, are they? Could they stumble when it comes to putting the ball in the back of net like Wolves have this season?
I think at every single World Cup though, there's always one. Who would have guessed that France would have gone out at the group stage in 2002? Who would have guessed that we would have gone out in the group stage in 2010?
No, we got through to the second round. Somehow we.
When did we have Costa Rica, Italy, and Uruguay?
We have 2014.
Who would have guessed that? Did Italy not go out in the group stage in about 2006 or?
They did it. Yeah, they went out group stages the same year as us. Yeah.
So there is always there's no way that the last 16 will consist. No, I'm not even going to say there's no way because it would definitely happen then. But all the sort of like bigger nations, one of them won't get out the group, and the manager will be sacked. Always happens.
I was going to say, and with Germany, I think someone like Kai Havertz might really step up as well because he seems to have a funny knack of scoring in big games.
I would fancy the Germans ahead of the Spaniards, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Spain are very nice on the eye, obviously very good at keeping the ball, but can Morata and the rest of the team put the ball in the back of their net? Let's quickly speed through groups F, G, and H. Group F, Belgium, Canada, Morocco, and Croatia. Excuse my ignorance for a moment. Did Theo Corbianu make the Canada squad?
Don't believe he did.
Stu hasn't mentioned it.
No, I didn't think he had. Because of the lack of social media presence that I've heard about Corbianu recently. So let's put Belgium and Croatia through in that group. Does that make sense to you too?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's going to be Belgium and Morocco.
Ryan Say's leading Morocco.
Yeah, I know. Like they've got a fairly strong squad.
Ziyech scored from his own half last night.
Yeah, that was a great goal. That was, to be fair.
Yeah,
it's like a democracy in this situation. Luke, do you think Morocco go through instead of Croatia?
I know I've just gone on about what I've just fucking said. But no, I don't.
I'm putting Croatia in, Rich, because after this round, I've got to get into the knockout stages after this table format. Group G is another group of death, isn't it, Luke? Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. Serbia and Switzerland have only conceded 2 goals in qualifying campaign, and they had a good Euros knocking out France, didn't they? So you can't write them off. Serbia have got some good players. Mitrovic is in the form of his life at the moment for Fulham in the Premier League. Brazil win that group though, don't they?
The thing with Serbia is Mitrovic probably doesn't even play because they've got Vlahovic as well. Yeah. They've got Milinkovic-Savic in central midfield, who's an absolute tank. They've got some really, really good players. And I said to Dan off air, now this is where the viewers will probably think that we're not being serious. I don't even want to say it on the internet.
Say it.
He said it off air that he thinks Brazil are going to go out Group G. The silence is definitely.
But listen, don't get me wrong. Brazil, fantastic. They're the favourites for a reason. However, like Dan mentioned, Switzerland knocked out France. They've only conceded, what did you say, 2 goals in X amount. Yeah. Serbia's squad, Serbia will be dangerous, man.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I probably will be wrong, but I don't see Brazil getting 9 points.
Proper whack on George Elokobi's camera, and that we're not even discussing them as a possibility. Rich, are you sticking with me that Brazil win this group?
Yeah.
So who's going through second with them, Rich? Because that makes it 2-1, Luke. Who's going through with Brazil?
Switzerland.
Luke?
Serbia.
You say Cameroon?
I'm going with Switzerland on this one, Luke. I'm going to go with Rich on that. I think Switzerland's strong qualifying campaign based on their last tournament at the Euros, they go through with Brazil in Group H. The last group of the group stages is Group H: Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and South Korea. Hee-chan Hwang obviously making his World Cup debut for the Koreans. How do we feel Hwang's going to do in this tournament, guys? Because
he's going to get 5 goals.
I was going to say I fancy him to score at least a couple in this tournament. He doesn't seem to do too bad for South Korea, and I think Hyung Min Sun's having a bit of injury trouble at the moment. So Hwang's probably their main goal outlet, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the rest of the squad's like. Have they got that fella from Bordeaux who's linked with as well?
Yes, I believe so. Hwang Yi-jo, wasn't it? Something like that. But you know me, massive Cristiano Ronaldo fan. Did Portugal win that group for you, Luke?
I hope so, just because of the Wolves, lads. But it's a difficult group to call. I wouldn't want England to be in that group.
No. I think Darwin Núñez for Uruguay is going to be one of the standout performers at this tournament. I think he's an absolute nightmare to defend against because I don't think he knows what he's doing a lot of the time. But he's so fast and gangly. I just think I could just say he's a nightmare to defend against. Who are you going through? Who are you saying is going through Group H, Rich?
So I'm a bit split on Portugal because I want the Wolves lads to do well and I want to see Neves do well. And I can't work out whether the whole Cristiano Ronaldo stuff this week is going to massively hinder them, or is this? It feels like this type of situation is only going to fuel Ronaldo, because obviously he said what he said, but I kind of just see him scoring a hat trick and just feel like, yeah, don't worry, I'm still relevant. This is why they are in the wrong, and I've proven it. I'm thinking Portugal, Uruguay, but I will find it hilarious if Ronaldo is shit. I will genuinely find it hilarious to see it kind of crumble in front of us.
Go Uruguay, Portugal.
Uruguay to win the group. I'm going to touch on what Rich has just said there for a minute. I feel, and you know my opinions on Cristiano Ronaldo, but every single interview that the Portuguese team seem to be doing at the moment is based on that interview that's come out this week. And it's got to be so detrimental for the mentality of the squad. Bruno Fernandes seems absolutely sick to death of Cristiano Ronaldo. I just feel if Portugal are going to do well in this tournament, it's going to be with Cristiano as a bit part player in the group stage, because they've got some exceptional forward players. João Felix is a big name for Portugal in this tournament. They absolutely demolished Nigeria last night, but Nigeria haven't made the World Cup, so it makes you wonder how much effort Nigeria put into that game. For me, it would be a disaster if Portugal don't make it through that group, but I'll go with Luke on this one. Uruguay to win the group and Portugal to finish second scrappily. The tournament that Portugal won the Euros, didn't they draw every group game?
They finished
Yeah,
third, didn't they?
Yeah, they didn't win a game in normal time for a good amount of way through the tournament from memory, did they?
No.
So that's we'll end Group H with Uruguay winning the group and Portugal finishing second.
Come on, let's look at the last 16 then.
That's it. Last 16. So the first tie is Holland versus Wales. Louis van Gaal versus Robert Page. Who's winning that game? What's your thoughts on that game? Holland, Wales. Who's winning that game, Luke?
Holland, 3-1.
Holland 3-1. Rich, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Good, because I've already clicked Holland to go through. Match 50 of World Cup 2022 is Argentina versus Australia based on our group stages. Argentina absolutely romp Australia, don't they? 6-0. What's your score predictions for that one?
1-0 through a controversial Messi penalty.
Luke?
Raul reach.
The big Qatar fix is on. If
Yeah.
Lionel Messi makes it to the World Cup final, apparently it will be his 1,000th appearance in football. The big Qatar fix is on. What's your score prediction for Argentina, Australia, Luke?
5-2.
5-2 Argentina. Match 53, Germany versus Croatia. Rich?
Yeah, Germany to win 2-0.
Luke?
Croatia to win on penalties.
Ooh, I'm going to go with Germany 2-0. Match 54, which would be an absolute slobber knocker. Brazil versus Portugal. Two of the big favourites for the tournament. Who's winning that game for you, Luke?
You've got to say Portugal because you've said that you think they'll finish bottom of the group.
They'll win it now. Now they've got it. They'll win it. Brazil.
They've made it through the group. They've got momentum there. Cristiano Ronaldo scored in the last minute to take them through the group stage.
Brazil 3-1. Ronaldo to get sent off.
Oh, what about you, Rich? Brazil, Portugal?
Yeah, Brazil again. I can see it being like a proper like curtain closer on Ronaldo's international career at the very least.
So that would take Germany versus Brazil in the next round. If England make it through as group winners, they will play the runners-up of Group A, which would then be Senegal without Sadio Mane. What's your score prediction for England-Senegal, Rich?
3-1 England.
Luke?
2-1 England after extra time.
I was going to go some sort of extra time penalties for England to go through. The next game would be France versus Poland, Mbappe versus Lewandowski. France comfortably win that, Rich?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'll go France to get through.
Agree with that, Luke?
Yeah. Can't argue against that.
Mbappe hat-trick. Giroud won 4-0. Match 55, Belgium versus Japan.
Belgium 2-0, De Bruyne masterclass.
Yeah.
Yeah, the easiest fixture so far, Belgium to beat Japan. And then the last fixture, Uruguay versus Switzerland. You had Uruguay to win the group, Luke, and me and Rich bullied you into having Switzerland go through. So it's basically another me deciding Uruguay versus Switzerland. I'm gonna go with Uruguay just to beat Switzerland due to their firepower and the fact that I've backed Darwin Núñez to do a madness during the tournament. Quarterfinal, Holland versus Argentina. I think we're more leading up to an Argentina Messi final, aren't we? So it's Argentina going through, isn't it?
Yeah.
Holland on penalties.
I'm going Argentina, Luke.
I think Van Dijk will pocket him. Van Dijk will pocket him.
I'm setting Messi up to lose in the final. In the next game, Germany versus Brazil. It's for me, I think Brazil are going all the way, so I'm going to have Brazil beating Germany. What's your two thoughts?
Yeah, I'm having Brazil as well.
Agree with that, Luke? Even though you've got no...
It don't really matter, does it? It don't
really matter because I've already picked Brazil to win the whole tournament, lads. England versus France. Do England beat France in the quarterfinal? I personally think that's where England become unstuck, and that's when we start looking at the terminals for the departure lane back to London Heathrow or Birmingham, where they left from the other day.
France will win 2-0 and then Gareth Southgate will get sacked. Hurrah!
Rich?
Yeah, I think it'll be a 1-0 defeat, but I think it'll be a convincing 1-0 defeat.
The last quarter-final, Belgium versus Uruguay.
See, I feel like we've gone with this one feels like the trickiest one to pick. I think I'm going to go Uruguay.
Yeah, I've told you, I'm backing Darwin Núñez to do a madness, so it's 2-1, Luke, regardless if you pick Belgium. Belgium squad is starting to look a bit tired and old now, if you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin De Bruyne and like Eden Hazard and like approaching like I think they're about 30 plus now.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So there we go. Darwin Núñez, 2-0 Uruguay against the Belgians. So the semi-finals are Argentina versus Brazil and France versus Uruguay. That would be an absolute match for the ages. Argentina versus Brazil in the semi-final in Qatar. But who's winning that game and why is it Brazil?
It's Brazil because you said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk me into Argentina beating Brazil.
I don't want to because I don't want Argentina to win it. Didn't
Argentina beat Brazil on the way to win the Copa America recently? And I believe
they did when they won on penalties, didn't they?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Argentina are on a very long unbeaten at the moment. However,
I really like your way of thinking, Luke. So sorry, Rich. I love your way of thinking. So basically, you're saying Brazil, Argentina won. So we're going to put Brazil through to the final. And then the other semi-final, it's France versus Uruguay. As I said before, Kylian Mbappe up against Darwin Núñez. Who's featuring with Brazil in the final? Is it France to do a repeat of World Cup 1998, or is it going to be a South American all-final?
I was going to say it's either a repeat of the 1950 final or the 1998 final. I'll go for 98 and go France to go through.
What about you, Luke? France or Uruguay?
France, Mbappe.
Yeah.
7-0.
In hindsight, I'm not sure how Uruguay have made it through based on my belief that Darwin Núñez is going to do a madness. So it's going to be a 1998 repeat. Brazil versus France. I would love to see R9 in this game again. I don't know if either of you saw the documentary that came out earlier this week on BBC iPlayer. R9, the phenomenon. Try and watch it if you can, folks. Absolutely great watch. Emotional in parts. World Cup final 2022, Brazil versus France. What's your score prediction for that, Rich?
Penalties after a 1-1 draw. I'm stalling for time, rather obviously, because I haven't decided. I'm going to go Brazil.
Luke?
Who won did France win the last World Cup?
Yeah. They beat Croatia in the final, didn't they? 4-2.
Yeah, Brazil 2-0.
I'm going to go with a 3-0 Brazil, 2 for Neymar and 1 for Gabriel Jesus because he's having a bit of a goal trend.
Mbappe will have a funny turn pre-game and there'll be loads of talk about is he in the team? Is he not in the team? He's on the team sheet. He's out the team sheet. He won't play and Brazil will win. No, sorry, he will play, but he'll play really poorly. And Brazil will win. A central midfielder they'll score off corners. They'll score off 2 corners. What's that all about?
It's just another like propaganda, isn't it? Where they've got Messi just being a goat and winning the tournament, winning the Golden Boot, winning Golden Ball, winning fucking Eurovision because everyone's just sucking Messi off like every other day of the week. If you listen to Football Ramble today, it was like watching flipping Lionel Messi on Babe Station for 24 hours, how much they were sucking him off. It was horrific. I was listening to it on my drive home and I just felt appalled in basically the hatred that the football community have got for Lionel Messi. I should have been given human growth hormone injections like him, and I could have been in the World Cup. That was definitely Rich putting Andrew Knight's comments of the GOAT up on the screen there for the audio listeners and the YouTubers. Lionel Messi will never be the GOAT. The GOAT is either Diego Maradona or R9. And on that note, thanks for those who have joined us tonight on the Wolves Fancast World Cup 22 preview show. Drop a quick like before you leave. Hopefully, we'll be back next week with some sort of coverage on England's scrappy 1-0 win over Iran, thanks to a Harry Maguire scrambled effort. Thanks for joining us tonight. The show is brought to you by 90min.com and Pixel Yeti Media. Enjoy your weekend, take care, and we'll see you next week.